guys had a good week. We're going to go over the 12 stocks, go over the levels, upside, downside, and prepare for this week. We had an absolutely crazy Friday with a nice rally to over 40.07 on ES, pulled right back down to 39, right slightly below 39.10 zone. So definitely setting up as a lot of the bulls needed and wanted that close above 4,000 for us to try to continue that upward movement. But there is still hope for the bulls. There is a few potential scenarios that I see. So what we're going to do is we're going to go over the levels and get right to it. Starting out with ES. ES we're watching right here, this 39.08 zone. This 39.08 zone, if we can hold this, which is the key zone right across where we have resistance, support, we're able to pull up above it once and we pulled up against, we could possibly keep pushing, try to retest this 39.57. So I'm going to highlight these levels for you. 39.57, when I switch my time frame, right now I'm on a 30-minute time frame, it moves the POC down to 39.57. On the 30-minute, it keeps the POC up here at 39.71. But see what's interesting with this? It worked both ways. That 30-minute POC would support once, and then that 1 hour POC would support on later on. But also then made a range right here between that 39.57, 39.71. Over that weekly POC right around 39.83. Wouldn't put too much emphasis on it right this moment, as these two other levels seem to be providing greater support and resistance. So if we can get over 39.71, we can definitely see that 4,007 level retested. Over that, which is currently where support, resistance, and resistance, we could possibly get that overshoot to 40.073 again. But note, right here, this is a little bit of a choppy zone between 40.30 and 40.40. So definitely note that zone. Really, if we get that 40.073, we're going to need to push through that. But 40.73 is definitely going to be key. Because to the upside, there's resistance all the way across this zone. This whole zone, 40.73 to 40.87, is definitely going to be key to watch. And once we get over that, we have a nice zone at 41.14. Downside, though. Downside gets a little scary. Below 39.10, there's really not much support. If you see this chart, we have very light support right here at 38.58. So below 38.58, another light level here, 38.34. Then we get into this very choppy zone right near 38.07 to 38.34. But this was previous resistance. A little bit of a bounce a few times, not really much. But the real next support, if we dive, doesn't come all the way in until 37.43 zone and 37.24. This is where we definitely chopped around and where we had our last buy signal and we were able to play up that upside of that rally, which gave us a nice move of close to 500 points. Those are the upside and downside levels for ES. Let's go over NQ. NQ, here we go. Same deal. Last week we provided some great ranges. There's 12.085 to 12.295 POC, as well as to the top of 12.594. So this was a great range because look, we had the resistance here previously. We had a little bit of an overshoot, which really wasn't much, but turned into be a nice pullback. Nice pullback right to this POC zone that we had a weekly VPOC at. 12.295 we tagged, got a little bit of a relief bounce, but we came right back up to my 12.473 level. Look what that was. Right here was previous support, a little bit of chop, but I left that level because there was a level of importance from even several weeks prior. We rejected it and we came right down to our zone of 12.085, a little bit of an overshoot, but resistance, support. That's why I left this level. It's a nice level to note. Even though we had that overshoot, we pulled right back up. They trapped a lot of shorts here, trying to think that we were going to go back down and cave. And then they pulled it right back up to the weekly POC. Had that one more overshoot to 12.473 and right back down to 12.085. Going into next week, 12.085 is definitely going to be a key level. If we can hold this and push back up and get over 12.295, we can see that 12,473 retested, and then 12,595. Through all that, there's not much resistance overhead. If we can actually break and consolidate and build a range and hold, we can definitely see possibly 12,818, and then that weekly VPOC all the way at 12,293 tested. But we're going to need to get to see some consolidation a little bit higher up before we actually really try to make that next big move up. Now, if we actually do get another pull up and then pull back, but if we get a former right shoulder here around 12,227, we could possibly see like a big head here, shoulder, and then a shoulder form right around this zone. That's one scenario possibly. Downside though. Downside, if we give up 12,085 and this previous support becomes resistance and we absolutely, let's say, come down and then reject, we'll be coming down to 11,973 as well as 11,903, which was a weekly POC that held right here. Below 11,973 gets a little hairy between this 11,847 and 11,742 zone. Gets very choppy. So just note that zone. It's going to be very key. Below that, if we give up that level, there's really not much support. We could definitely possibly see 11,440, 11,483 and that weekly POC 11,351. Those are the levels for NQ. Let's go over SPY. SPY, if we're in a big range here, we're a very big range. That level right here was the top of this gap, which I marked, and it started to provide support here as well as resistance in this zone, 401.53. Key level to note. Downside, not much support, very light support here around this 390 zone. We have right near that weekly POC at 389.31. So if we give up this 389, we can definitely see 380. This is all choppy. I mean, yeah, we have a very light level right here in this zone of 387. But if we give that up and just continue to collapse, we can see 380.74 possibly. And if that gives up, there's not much stopping it really until 372. 372 is where we definitely have some nice support at. So definitely key to note that zone. Upside though, if we can get back up over 397.92, we can see 398.77 tested and then 401.53. Let me change this. Through 401.53, this is going to be a key level to break and hold above. If so, we can break. If so, we can break and let's say retest and then push up. We can see 406.91 and then possibly try to retest this 410 to 413 zone where it gets a little hairy. But those would be the upside targets for SPY. Next, we're going to go over VIX. VIX has been doing pretty decent so far. Capped between my zone. We need to get over 27.52. Through 27.52, we can see 28.42. And over that, yeah, we can get some overshoots. But really the next big zone is going to become between 32s right here and 34.79 if you see. 34.79. This is going to be the next big zone overhead. And if we actually continue to hold this zone and VIX actually comes back down, it's going to be a bad sign because that means that SPY is just going to have to drop even that much further for VIX to keep pushing up. Downside, if we break and hold below 24.18 and we absolutely collapse, we can definitely see the 22 zones and 21s tested again. And then we got stuck in this range between 21.07 and like 19s. So we had that beautiful falling wedge, broke to the upside. Another little channel down, broke again to the upside. So patterns worked out nicely this week. Had that double, triple top here, and then we pulled back. So definitely watching to see where ES goes to dictate what's going to happen. Now the next thing though I'm going to note. So let's go over QQQ. This is going to be interesting. QQQ actually performed very well off our levels last week. We had a 293.52 level. And let me show you. This level was a level from ways back that I've had that provided great support. If you see right here, resistance, resistance, a little bit of chop, support again. But right here, sure enough, it came right back into play at 293.52. Key level to hold. If we can hold this level and get back over 296, which was resistance quite a bit right here, we can definitely see that weekly POC at 300 tested and then get back to that 302. That 302, if you see these little tiny wicks here, we rejected this even though we had those little overshoots. So 302.01 is definitely a key level to note that we break, consolidate, and hold above, or we break, retest, and then go higher. I'd take a play off the retest confirmation for the upside. Over that, we can definitely possibly see 307.21 tested again. Through that, definitely opens up a big range. Look at this. Resistance, support, all the way up to that 312 zone. So definitely a nice move if we get that meaty move to the upside. We could form, though, that W pattern here. We already got the down, got the up, down. We need that up. And if we form that W pattern and shoot up, that would complete that W pattern. Downside, though, below 280, 293, weekly POC test at 289, which provided great support here. Beautiful hammer ripped. Below that, 283, very light level. Real support 280.26. Possibly there. If that collapses, we would most likely see that weekly POC near that 276 tested. Those are the levels to watch for QQQ. Let's go over IWM. IWM, let me zoom in and show you guys what we're working with here. Upside levels, if we can hold below over 179.46, 180 zone, which was weekly POC, we can definitely see that bounce back to the 183.51 weekly POC at 184.27. If we can regain control of that and hold this 183.51 level, which you see was clearly support here, but then became resistance, we can hold this. We can definitely possibly push back to that 187.69 zone. Downside, we give up 179.46. Got very light support. We only tested it really once here this weekly, which was a weekly from a ways back, which was 178.13. Through that, you have light support again, which was previous resistance at 176. Below 176, not much. I'm not seeing really much until we get down to this 173 zone. Got previous resistance, weekly. You can definitely see that 173 tested. If all fails, you got 171.26, and then you come down into this really rough zone and ultimate support at 166. But that would be a massive drop. Let's go over now stocks. Let's go over Apple. Apple now has been, if you think about it, where Apple is in relationship to where we've pulled back in the market, isn't really good. Because Apple's still hanging up here. Apple's got a lot of balls. It really does. It's been holding up. Slight pullback, really. I mean, from 176 down to 155, only around $20-some away from its high. Meanwhile, other stocks like AMD and Nvidia are like $50 down. So definitely it's doing decent, but we really need to regain this 166 level. This is a key level that Apple needs to regain. If not, we can test that 154 zone and then 150. 150 is that weekly POC, which provided decent support here. Through that, there's not much until we get down to this 170, 147, 145 range. If all fails, we will see 143. And then there's not much, there's a big drop below that. See how fast, look how big this range is here. So definitely note this zone would be key to hold. If we can regain control and we actually push back up, We can see that weekly POC taken out at 159.11, but we got major resistance here at 160.21. Definitely need to take this 160.21 out and hold. Over that, what we will see 163. Got a very light level here, just this weekly POC at 165. And then through that, we got another resistance at 166. Let's go on to Microsoft. Microsoft upside. If we can regain control of this 256, we can try this 258 zone and then really need that big push back over 263. If we can hold 263 zone where we have some resistance at, we can retest 267, which was this zone of resistance right near that weekly POC. So the nodes, that zone, is what I would be watching. So anything near that. Over that, there's really not much. I mean, you got a weekly here at 272s, but then really 273 is where we actually tried to bounce, retest, and failed. That 273 was a weekly right here. Over that, you got that weekly VPOC all the way up at 276. So just note that. Downside levels, if we go down and we break 256, we will see 253 and most likely 250. 250 is really where I'm thinking if we actually have a significant another drop. Below that, there's really not much until 245. And then we're really pretty much near making new lows again. So, not good, not pretty. So, just note those upside downside levels for Microsoft. And let's carry on and let's go over chips. AMD and Nvidia. AMD upside levels have to get back over this 8103 zone. This 8103 zone is going to be key. If so, you can definitely try to push back up to that 84 where we had previous resistance. Chopped around a little bit over that level, but through that we got that it's not that POC zone right at 85.92. Through that, then you got 87.73. If we actually continue to really push, we really need to get back up near that 91.37 where we had previous resistance at. But downside, not too good either on the downside. We're pretty close to 71s. So only 10 points away. So if we reject this 8103 and we push down, we will test this weekly VPOC at 7706. And then this is where the last really hope for support would be, 174. And if 72 gives up, I mean, that's really the last resort, 72.54. But through that, we'll be making new lows, and I have a line down here at 69.74. Nvidia. Let's go over Nvidia. Nvidia, not looking too good. But now we also have this massive gap. So just note that. We have this massive gap to the up right here between 150s to like 144s. So if we can hold above this, get back above this weekly POC and 140 zone, we can definitely see a possible move to try to fill that gap. We got that first level of resistance at 144, which was previous support here, even though we overshot and then tested it real quick again. Through 144, we can definitely see that push to that gap fill zone. Try to possibly even retest this resistance at 153 that we rejected. Downside though, below 153, 135, I don't have our next level of support until 126.3 and then 122.98. I mean, I have some further downside levels of 116, 114, but these will be in the blog once we get to that point. So just note that for Nvidia, it's definitely going to be key to watch going into next week. Lastly, we're going to just wrap it up with Amazon, Google, and Tesla. Amazon's been up here doing pretty decent. So let's go over what we're working with here. Amazon upside levels. If we can get back above this 129.07, 130 zone, we definitely have some hope to really push and test this 134, 130 zone of this weekly POC. Let me just move that down actually. 133.81, close enough. So we got to get to 130.58 key level through that 133, and then you can see 136. I have a nice little overshoot here. But if we can actually break and hold this resistance, and actually hold and we get a retest confirmation, not just knife right through it, we can definitely possibly see that 139 zone tested. If before we get to 139, my apologies, we have that 138 zone to watch for. Then we have 139, the weekly, right near 142. But the reason I left the 142 is because this is where the tops were before we actually had the little overshoots on the candles. We had the little consolidation, overshoot, pulled back, consolidation, overshoot, pulled back. So 142.84 zone. Downside. If we break down below 125 again, we can try to retest that low near 124. But if that fails, we will see this weekly POC, which was resistance here that we gapped over at 122.42. Below that, you got 118.06, which was nice support. And then through that, you got 113.81, which was a nice weekly POC. Let's go over Google. Google's stuck between my range that we have right here of 107 and 110. Very choppy range. Need to really get either, let's say if we chop, we get up to 110, we break out and then retest and then push higher, we can see 111.23.61, a little bit of a tight zone. Through that, we can definitely see 113.16 tested. Got some nice little bit of support here after we broke through. So I like this 113.16 to note. Over that, you got that weekly VPOC at 114.17. And through that, we can definitely see that 116.06. Downside though, we break below 107.26. We will see 105.81, that weekly 105 zone. I'll adjust that in a second and give you that level. And then 104.42. Below that, we will be seeing 101 tested and new lows possibly. Let's wrap it up with Tesla, and we are good to go. Downside. If we give up this 269 level and actually get a retest confirmation and break, so it would be something like that, retest confirmation and, retest failure, and we actually come back down, we will see 262.3 and then 255. Below that, you got a weekly POC here at 248, and then really not much below until 234s. All fails, you'll see that 230 tested, and then 225, another weekly POC. Upside, we get back over 280.49, which is a massive key level to hold. We can then try to see 284 and then 289, which is a weekly VPOC. So those are going to be the key levels to be noting for Tesla going into the next week. We also have 3 live streams this weekend, two VIP on Sunday, one for free that I'll go over EDU, how to use Volatility, what I look for, try out some examples for you guys, and then take questions. On the VIP one, we'll go over more specific macro levels, the micro levels, and really dive into each stocks, pull apart the charts on different time frames, go over if you guys have any other stock picks that you guys, or charts that you guys want me to chart out for you and look at, or if you guys took trades, try to improve trading games and strategies. And then we also have Mark, who's one of the Discord analysts who's phenomenal with Fibonacci's, who will be going over how he uses Fibonacci's and how to incorporate them with my levels. So hope you guys all have a great Labor Day weekend. I'll see you guys Sunday night. I'll be doing futures Sunday night and watching Monday. I'll post some updates. And then Tuesday, the market will resume. So enjoy the holiday weekend, and I'll see you guys all then.